Today, you are going to learn all about the 12 or maybe 13 English tenses and also some incredible statistics when it comes to these tenses. Now, before we get started, it's important to know that some people say that there aren't actually 12 tenses, but for the most part, most courses and English lessons do say that these are tenses, and I'm sure that you've learned things like the past simple, the future perfect, etc. are tenses in English. So we're going to go with that. We're going to continue with that. And before we really go into everything, just very quickly, my name is Jack from tofluency.com. Welcome to this lesson. If you are new here, then consider subscribing. And then if you also enjoy it, just click the like button if there's one there and share this with a friend. And also know that I'll have some great resources in the description for you, including my book, The 5-Step Plan for English Fluency, which is free to download. So let's quickly talk about the different tenses in English, which ones they are. Then I'll talk about some incredible statistics when it comes to these tenses, and then how to learn them. Okay, so how to learn them. So we have present, past, and future. We have the present simple, the past simple, and the future simple. We also have the present continuous, past continuous, future continuous, and then the present perfect, past perfect, future perfect, and present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, and future perfect continuous. Now, the bonus one, which some people include, is be going to. Be going to, because we tend to use this as a tense. Now, if you want an in-depth overview of some of these tenses, then I'll leave links to lessons I've done. For example, how to talk about the future in English, how to use the future tenses. I've also made one on the present perfect versus present perfect continuous. And I've also made a lesson on the present perfect versus past simple. In this lesson, I'm just going to go over some of the ways you can use these tenses and give you some examples before we talk about the stats and also how to learn these tenses so that you can use them naturally. Now, some interesting things with the present tenses, the present simple and continuous, we can use these to talk about the future and the past, with one of them at least. So, for example, the present continuous, we use this to talk about what we're doing right now. For example, I am recording this podcast for you in the moment. I am recording this podcast for you. The present simple is more about what we normally do. So I can say, I record a podcast episode once a week. So every week I record a podcast episode. That's using the present simple. But we can also use the present simple if something is on a schedule for the future. So I can say, my flight leaves tomorrow at 7 a.m. It's on a schedule. It's for the same for everybody. The movie starts at 4 o'clock. Or my English lesson finishes in 10 minutes. My English lesson finishes in 10 minutes. This is the present simple. And the way I like to think about it is that it's the same schedule for everybody else. Now, the present continuous is used when you have arranged something. It's in your diary, okay? So I can say, I'm meeting my friend for dinner tomorrow at 7. I am meeting, the present continuous, my friend tomorrow for dinner at 7. So it's something that's in my diary. It's on a schedule. And we can also use the present simple to talk about the past. If we want to give a story in the past, more emphasis. For example, okay, so I go into the shop and I'm just there. I'm standing there, using the present continuous too. I'm standing there. And then this guy enters and then he says, so it's like a story to use the present tenses, which makes it more immediate. Now, the present perfect and past simple can confuse people. The way I like to teach it is that if something can still happen in the future, then we use a present perfect. Again, I'll leave a link to a lesson I made on this, but I can say things like, I've had 3 cups of tea today. Okay. Today hasn't finished yet. There's still more today. And even though I'm probably not going to have another cup of tea, then I still say I've had 3 cups of tea today. Whereas yesterday, I had 4 cups of tea. Yesterday is over, so we use the simple past. I had 4 cups of tea yesterday. I've had 3 cups of tea today. And then the other one I want to just mention is the future simple, which is will. We don't use this a lot when we're talking about plans for the future. And when we talk about the future, we generally talk about our plans and what we intend to do, or what we're planning to do, or what we have arranged to do. So we tend to use the present continuous more. I'm meeting my friend for dinner tomorrow at 7. The present simple, not as common, but specific to my lesson finishes in 10 minutes. And then we also use be going to. I'm going to play football tomorrow. Or we're going to leave at about 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. We're going to leave at about 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Now, let's talk about some stats now, because I think this is so interesting. And I came across a blog post which summarizes a study that was done on the frequency of English verb forms and English tenses. And it's so interesting. So somebody did this study. It's quite old now, but I imagine it's quite similar in terms of the results if they did this study again. And it took 3 categories. I'll leave a link to this so you can have a look at it. But it gave 3 categories of speech, fiction, and specialized. Okay, specialized text. So speech is when you're speaking, fiction is reading a novel, and specialized is more academic. And then it looked at how often verb tenses are used. And just to go with the present, past and future, all right? In speech, we use present tenses nearly 70% of the time. So when we're talking, we use present tenses about 70% of the time. So that includes things like, I am doing this, etc. Or I'm meeting my friend tomorrow, using the present tense. The past was 22%, and the future was only 8.7%, using the future tenses. And I think that highlights that we don't tend to use things like will when we talk about the future. Now, we do use will when we are deciding to do something in the moment, or we're using the first conditional, or we're talking about future facts and we're predicting the future. For example, you might just say, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it tomorrow. I've just decided I'll do it tomorrow. Or you might say, it's going to rain tomorrow. Or you might say, the weatherman said it will rain tomorrow. Or the weather says it will rain tomorrow. It's like a prediction for the future. But I think this just shows that, again, the present tenses are king when it comes to speaking, past second, and then the future last. And then you might be thinking, okay, I need to learn advanced English. Things like the future perfect continuous. Okay, I will have been doing this for a long time. Or the past perfect continuous. I had been seeing it, for example. Or even just the future perfect. I will have been here for 6 months. Now, when it comes to frequency in spoken English, get this, right? This is incredible. The first one is a simple present, 57%. So we use the simple present as a tense 57% of the time. The simple past is second with 20%. And then the simple future will is 8.5%. Present perfect is 6%. And then the present progressive is 5.1%. So we use a simple present which for most people is the easiest tense to use, I think, most of the time. Now, when it comes to the future progressive, the future perfect, the past perfect continuous, and even the future perfect continuous, these are used about 0.1% of the time, which is a tiny amount. And this, I think, highlights what I've been saying for a long time, that we don't tend to use these tenses as much as people think we do. That I will have been doing this for 6 days, etc. We don't tend to use these tenses. A lot of the time, we use different tenses instead. Even the past perfect, okay, is only used 1.2% of the time. Even the past continuous, I was standing there, is only used 1.4% of the time. So this is super interesting to me. Really, really interesting, because it just shows that when it comes to speaking English, we use the simplest tenses for most people most of the time. And this is also true when it comes to vocabulary, where people want to learn advanced English, advanced words, idioms and things like that. But when it comes to frequency, we tend just to say things like, I'm doing okay. Or, how are you? Or, it's raining, for example, all the time. And I think what's a good way to think about this is to say, okay, what are the most frequently used words and phrases and tenses? And I should master those. I should master those first before I start to put lots of effort into finally understanding how to use the perfect or the future perfect continuous. Because again, I don't know how often people actually use these tenses in real life. I'm not sure how often I use them. And the stats suggest that they're just not common in everyday English. That's not to say that they're not useful to learn, but it's important to know to focus on things that are commonly used, because those are the things that you're going to use in everyday English. So we have these 13 tenses, or the 12 tenses, if we're being more specific. And we've just learned that a lot of these tenses just aren't used that much in everyday English. But the simple present is used 57% of the time. Then it's the simple past, then the simple future, then the present perfect, then the present progressive. The top 5 tenses are used 95% of the time. Those 5 tenses are used 95% of the time. The other 7 are just 5% of the time. So with that in mind, let's talk about how to learn tenses. All right. And there's 3 things I think are really important to do when it comes to this. Understand when the tenses are used. And that's something I went through very quickly to say, all right, we use the present perfect to talk about something that continues today, or this week, or this month, or this year. So to understand when they're used. And you can do that by taking lessons like the ones I leave in the description, or just through getting lots of input and acquiring this knowledge in a more natural way. Because you'll notice how people use tenses, how often they use them, and in which situations they use them in. So this is important to understand how to use the tenses and in which situations. And then secondly, learn sentences. So get lots of examples of these tenses and learn the sentences. Because by learning sentences, you're going to learn the forms. The I plus have plus done plus it. Learning those rules, it can help, but you're going to really internalize this and learn it in a more natural way if you get lots of sentences. And that's what I talk about here. I'll actually leave a link to a lesson where I talk about the power of sentences. And this is true, especially for verb tenses. And then thirdly, try to use these tenses in natural English when you speak. So when you have learned a tense and how to use it, then take a lesson with a teacher or get a language exchange partner or have conversations with people and use the tenses that you've learned in a way so that you're practicing them in a natural way. That will really give you the confidence to know, all right, I'm using them correctly. And then also listen to other people when they speak and notice how they're using tenses too. Okay, so that's just a fun lesson today. And just to give you an overview of the different tenses in English, how often they're used and how to really focus your learning so that you can learn the tenses and know when to use them and then to be able to use them in a natural way. Now, feel free to leave a comment if you're on a platform that has a comment system, for example, YouTube, and tell me which tense you find the most difficult to learn. And then also tell me if this lesson has made you feel a little bit better about that tense. And then use this lesson today as motivation to create an action plan and say, okay, I'm going to learn these tenses. I'm going to focus on the most common tenses, the top 5. And then I'm going to get lots of sentences. I'm going to learn how they're used. And then I'm going to practice and get the repetition so that I can internalize these rules and structures. And then I can be able to use them naturally in a conversation. And then go to the description and check out the other lessons that I've made on this and go through them, understand them, get the examples, write them down, and use the tools that I've talked about here in order to really learn them. And then while you're in the description, get my book, The 5-Step Plan for English Fluency. It's free to download. And then share this lesson with a friend. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching or listening to this lesson. It is great to have you. Be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't done already. And then again, share this with a friend. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye for now.